that back in the days, our grandmothers and our mothers, they would sacrifice their happiness to save the family and the marriages. And why aren't women nowadays willing to sacrifice their happiness for their marriage and their families?
I got a theory on this.
Okay, go ahead.
I can't wait.
I got a little theory on this because I don't know. I was talking about this just the other day. I think that women back in the day was almost, I don't want to say forced into it, but they was forced into duty. They had very limited options to really do anything else. So they was almost kind of like really pushed into the duty of the family. You know, the other option was a really a grim option. I mean, you if you didn't have bank accounts and you didn't have the right to vote, you didn't really have a lot of, it was a hard road to travel. And so at least over here, you did have somebody who was taking care of financial things. You did have the pleasure of having a family and all of that. So I think the duty was not necessarily, it wasn't a thing that they just willingly did. Oh, I'm choosing this. Men, we had the choice of duty or not. I don't think women really had that the quality of choice as far as family and duty or being single or whatever. And I think and so now when you have the choice, that choice ain't what it's always cracked up to be for a lot of people. It don't look always like a good choice. Especially if you talk to people who have been married, who have been in the type of marriages where they are openly saying they don't like their wives or love their husbands and all of that thing. It's not a good road. It's not an attractive road to travel for a lot of people, and I think that's what the difference is.
All right. What was the question again?
Oh, Lord. So the question was why women are not willing to sacrifice their happiness now for marriage and family.
Because they don't have to.
Exactly.
Dun, 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 dun. They don't have to. But I think sometimes people are lazy about communication, right? And so we just throw sound bites out there without really explaining. So I think that's a sound bite that gets thrown out there, but there actually is can be some substance to that conversation. Because sometimes people, men and women, create insatiable appetites for what they want. And it's really to try to fill a void that's not there. And they will have the people around them jumping through hoops and all this, trying to create this perfect scenario that will make them happy. And truth is, nothing will make them happy but some healing and looking inward. And so that's, a lot of women say shopping is therapy, right? It makes them feel better to go spend $2,000 on a Louis Vuitton purse.
Not me. Not me. No.
You know what I mean? And so,
what is the happiness though?
Again,
what does that mean? Like,
what happiness?
No. In that person's what you were talking about, whoever said.
Why won't women sacrifice their happiness?
I would sacrifice for the betterment of the relationship, but I'm not sacrificing my happiness because if I do that, he won't be happy. Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
I think at some point in this whole journey of life of the world, that a woman's happiness was not even important, whether she was happy.
If it's something tangible.
As long as she
I think
had the babies.
All people who wasn't rich, happiness wasn't important. You got to come to work for 40 hours, follow these rules, still not have enough money to do all the things you want to. So I think sometimes, I think women definitely had a hard road, but I don't think during that same time that men was having it was this great celebratory, easy party for them nobody was happy. I don't. They was making choice for survival.
I think I just kind of think you as a person, you just have to get to the point where you're probably good with what it is you're doing. Like it's not you're not sinking into depression or something like that. But I can't imagine going to work a coal mine or working in a factory for 40, 50, 60 hours, coming home to somebody who's unhappy, a bunch of kids screaming, and and not really having money to do much is a happy existence either.
So I just want to ask one more question before we go to the audience, because I know we got an audience comment. In this day and age, modern, right? Do you think that marriage and family holds the same weight as it did back then?
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was just sitting here thinking, that we live in the era of individualism. And so what was going on back then is everybody knew that we needed each other to survive, period. That these kids might not make it to adulthood if we not all on one accord working together. And the reality is that's actually still the situation, but we think that it's not. So we live in this era of individualism, and if our parents did something we don't like, we don't need them. Our siblings did something we don't like, we don't need them. If our spouse do something we don't like, we don't need. If our kids do something we don't like, we will cut them off and disown them. And we have this ultra independence, which is a trauma response, right, to being betrayed and having your feelings hurt and things of that nature. But there's this illusion that slavery doesn't exist anymore, and that racism isn't at the same level as it was anymore, and that we don't need each other. And the only reason for that is that they have created all of these distractions and pretend freedoms. But in the end, most people in this country have food, clothing, and shelter, and enough for some entertainment to distract them from the misery of what it takes to sustain that food, clothing, and shelter.
I agree with that. I think that we have been convinced, a lot of people have been convinced that marriage is not that important and that sex is not that important. And I think that, and what I mean by sex not being important, that means, you could just have sex with as many people as you want to, and that has no bearing on who you are as a person or affects you. I don't believe that. And so what people don't understand is there is a reason why it takes two people to make a baby. There's a reason why when you are alone, you feel a certain void. It's because people are all connected one way or another, and we're all interdependent on each other. And I think that a lot of times when you see people act like, the opposite sex doesn't matter, that's a very selfish approach that people take, because it's an approach that you don't really want everybody else to take. Because if everybody else took that approach, the human race wouldn't go on. Right. There wouldn't be people. Yeah. So I think that just in general shows you that, and anything done together is better than a person doing it by itself. So.
Okay, we're going to get an audience question or comment.
Just the happiness part kind of bothered me, because in relationships, you own your own happiness. What I think he's trying to say is that women aren't putting up with as much mess as they used to, and that's because they don't have to. And I also think that when you get with a partner and that partner isn't sacrificing something, not necessarily happiness, but something, then that relationship probably shouldn't exist. So I think that women and men are sacrificing. They're still doing the sacrifices. They're still trying to make things work. And I think that, I just think the happiness is separate from that. I don't think that you're happy, like the example I gave earlier. He's upset about something, he's bringing it to me, and I'm like, you guilty of the same thing. My happiness is what I evaluated, and I said, back off. He's upset. you're not upset about this. He's upset about it. So deal with him. So my happiness had nothing to do, it had something to do with it, but it wasn't in that. My happiness is fixing the situation between us. So the happiness said, you need to sacrifice and be quiet. So they're two different things. It's your happiness and your sacrifice for the relationship.
I understand that because I believe that with a relationship, the thing that helps you get through the hard times is because your happiness is in the good times. So you want to get back to that part. Yeah. So it
I
shouldn't
think
just
I
be-
think we need to that statement can be fixed. I think, and it applies to some men too. But maybe what he should have been saying is women aren't willing to sacrifice their ego for the good of the family anymore. Last night I went to a friend's restaurant and there was a event space next door and there was a prom send off. The mother had bottle girls, dancers.
for a prom
like-
send-off?
It was unbelievable, right? But it was not about them kids, for sure. It was about her, in my humble opinion. If you know, it's a teenage senior year send off, and you have bottle girls. People that age can't even go into the club to experience bottle
Right.
girls. So you rented an event space so that you could circumvent the rules to bring your weird fantasy together to project
Something that you wanted.
onto your kids. And so I think that is the type of dynamic that is exhausting to some
I'm
men in
confused
that
when
regard.
this whole prom send-off thing start happening anyway. But come on up. Let's get your question to comment.
Yep. So I think that part of what we're looking at when we see women giving up their happiness, it's our perception that maybe they weren't happy or that they were giving up their happiness. Without us being in the relationship, we don't know what type of mutual agreement they came up with. And even coming at relationships today, I think it's important that we see partners as partners and friends who mutually agree upon what roles that we'll play. I mean, we don't even have to use the word gender roles or relationship roles. We can say functionality. How does she function in a way that helps me? How do I function in a way that helps her together? And then we make decisions. And if we can maybe find partners that we cohesively work together with, work on projects, find common things that we work on together, the relationship can meld and mesh into something that we can both like. You know what I'm saying? That's the best word I can come up with, like.
No, that's
Well said.
Right.
good. That well said. That's it. Yes.
All right. So on the panel, we had a younger woman on there. And when he asked that question, I think she's 28. And so, you know, the 20s, they have just a whole different thought process. And so when he asked that question, she was looking like confused. And her question was, why can't I have both? Why can't I be happy and be married and have a family? You know, and it's just so simple and basic. Why can't we have both? Can we have both?
I think we can. I think we can. I think we can be happy, and I think we could be happily married. Especially, but like she said, it comes from the center of a happiness comes from within yourself. Like you walk around happy, and then I think it becomes a category thing. Like, all right, I'm happy with myself. I'm good with myself. You know who I am as a person, right? And now it becomes, all right, am I happy in my job, my career path, or whatever? Am I happy with the relationship that I'm having? Am I happy with, you know, my family and my friends? It becomes a categoric thing. So I can be happy. I can walk around and I'm good with everything, but maybe, you know, things in my relationships aren't going right now. And so now you work on that. Or maybe, you know, I have a job, you know, maybe it pays me well, but it doesn't fulfill me in the way that I want it to fulfill me. And so now, you know, I have to get to a point where, like, all right, I'm doing something that I'm fulfilled with, I'm happy with, that brings me joy. And so that's how I see happiness, because a lot of times when you are in a relationship, if the person isn't happy within themselves, it is like a black hole. You can put all the things you want in it, nothing's coming out. And so, and you could never satisfy them or never make them happy because they haven't filled that void, that hole in them. And so that's how I view happiness and the dynamics of it.
Okay.
I addressed it already, and we good.
So you think that we can be happy and married?
Yeah. What? Why not? You happy, that person's happy, and neither one of y'all got y'all chest poked around, running around talking about what y'all ain't gonna do and what you ain't gonna put up with. I don't understand that mindset. What? I'm about to do everything for my lady that I possibly can. And her mindset, she gonna do everything for me. And so we ain't never in this place where it's comparison and measurement and who did this and who did. We just winning together and enjoying it together. And
You just of service to each other.
yeah, that's that. It doesn't feel like sacrifice to me. If I'm not sacrificing my happiness or my peace of mind, that stuff is going out the window. Now we talking about a real sacrifice, but a lot of stuff is minor stuff that people make into a big, to me, in my humble opinion, make into a big deal, and they ain't got nothing else to focus on. I guess
I agree with that.
Well, I think that in this whole process of evolving to where we are in this modern day society, when we look back on the way that things were in the 50s and 40s, if we go back to Color Purple, I don't think Celie was happy. I don't think nobody cared if Celie was happy until Celie took her happiness. She had to make her own happiness. And I think to some degree, a lot of people think I'm not going to say a lot of people. I'm going to say with the plus one from that particular show in the 70s when he was growing up, I think that there was still some remnants of that whole type of thing where the woman, it wasn't about her happiness. It wasn't really about what he was going to do for her or how happy she was with it. It was that she had a duty to be in this marriage, to take care of the family, to bring her check to him so that he could use it and do whatever. Now, I will say that he said his father bought, I don't know if it was in both of their names, but he bought properties. So he invested it in real estate, right? So I don't know if he worked a job or he invested her money in real estate and put the properties in his name. I don't know if that's what happened or not, because he didn't say. Well, you're not on the mic, so can't nobody hear you. But I don't know what kind of job she had, but apparently it was enough for him to use it to purchase some stuff. So
Part
I think
of it,
that
we don't know.
I think we've evolved to a point where a woman's happiness even matters, and so some of the men in some age groups, they didn't grow up where the woman's, I won't say age groups, let me change that, mindsets.
I know we at the end, and so I
Yeah.
don't want to start a whole new conversation, but what is the perception of what was bringing men all this happiness during that period of time?
I'm not sure.
Me either, because all the men from that era that I know is like, man, I sacrificed, I did that. I wasn't buying myself everything I would have liked to buy for myself. I wasn't going out I didn't buy a season ticket to the Bears because I'm going to pay for this college tuition. I didn't buy myself new shoes every week like I used to before I had kids because I'm buying my kids' new shoes every week. So what is this perception in the 60s that the man who worked at the Ford plant that was paying all the bills, where is this perception of where all his joy and happiness and fun times that he was having that the woman had no access to?
So I believe with this particular plus one, because this is where I'm bringing this question from, he mentioned several times that this was the 70s. It was the pimp player era. So the happiness for the man may have come from his position as one of those roles. I don't know. But I'm just, I'm bringing questions that were presented to the women, because the thing about doing the show in Milwaukee first before I come here, if we have a plus one, I like to bring the man's questions to the men to see what, and you guys, so usually I have younger men on the plus one panel.
Right.
And so I like to bring it to the grown men. So like when we did when I asked you the question about the guy who asked what benefits does a woman bring, that's a pretty popular show right now. You know, because the women are loving it because you guys gave some grown man answers versus what we usually hear. Like, what does a woman really bring to a man that he can't live without? Blah, 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 blah. But you guys answered that question very well, and a lot of people are really loving that show. So I'm just bringing those questions that are asked of us. And when you guys talk about how incomplete those questions are, just giving you what they gave us. And that's what happens on social media. They give you these half-ass questions. Like, what do you bring to the table? What you talking about, really?
Right.
You know, how does a woman answer, what do you bring to the table? There's a whole lot of stuff. So tell me what area you talking
I
about.
hate sound bites.
I do too.
Repeating sound
What
bites.
area are you
somebody
talking
said
about?
it, it sounded good, I'm going to say it too.
My ability to love you? Are you talking about what you talking about? Are you asking me how much money I make or what my credit score is? Because if we on the first date, that ain't none of your business. You know, it's all these half-ass questions that they ask so that they can attack. That's all they're doing. It's like dangling the raw meat so they can attack. But anyway, if you can get on the mic real quick, and I mean like real quick, you got 2 minutes for real.
Just about what people bring to the table. I tell them, I say, hey, whatever table I sit at, I can contribute to it. And that's it. Basically, that's all. If I don't want to contribute to it, I keep it moving. Because all that, what you bring to the table, I bring everything. But at the end of the day, I can contribute to whatever I bring.
What you need on the table?
Yeah, exactly.
You need
That's what it is.
love. You need support. You need to be an authorized user on my credit card. What you need?
Need that Netflix account.
Right, you need my Netflix account information. What you need? I don't know what you need. What you talking about? All right. So you guys got any last words before we go ahead and sign off the live stream?
Nope.
Oh my God! And y'all two is at a loss of words.
Yep.
Be pleasant.
All
Be
right.
pleasant, but be firm. There you go.
Thank you for watching Let's Talk About It with Xavia Fox. This has been Dating, Relationships, and Sex Uncensored live in Chicago.